communicating matter? A lot of people think that if you just invent something amazing, the market will find you, it's going to be awesome, and you'll be famous and rich. And that is not actually what happens. So there's this wonderful book called The Innovator's Way, and they are so clear about this, that innovation is the adoption of the thing. So inventing the thing is about 1/5 of the battle. Getting people to know what the thing is, getting allies to be in your ecosystem so you can distribute the thing, getting the thing to be a platform, getting users to use the thing. All of that, I think you both, all of that has to happen. So that's why communication matters. So if you're thinking, I don't need to do communication until after my business is completely stable and it's $1 billion company, you need to do communication to hire your first 2 people that are going to work with you. You need to be able to communicate to get anybody to give you any money. You need to be able to communicate to get office space. You need to be able to communicate to even put together your basic terms of agreement when you're starting your business. So there is no situation, if the idea is going to come out of your head at all, you have to be able to talk. So that's why we care about communication. And then I love this quote from Arthur C. Clarke, which is, there is always a lot of resistance, and one of the things that I always talk about is the failure of imagination. You have to overcome people's skepticism and overcome their failure of imagination. It's like, well, I've never seen anything like that before. So one of my first jobs as a young tech PR person this was back in, I'm going to say 1993, when IBM speech recognition, it was just a brand new product coming out of the lab, and you had to talk like this. Because processing power, the chips didn't run fast enough to do the math so that you could do continuous speech. And I spent so much time on the phone just convincing people that it was possible that this stuff was ever going to work. So just no one believed it. So there's always, with something new, there's always that failure of imagination to overcome. And that's another reason why evangelism is necessary. I'm assuming you guys all know what I mean by evangelism because you all live in this world, right? Okay. I was talking to some people. I have a friend who is an esthetician and another friend who designs handbags, and they thought that I meant like a tent rally with, Bibles. No. But anyway, it's a world we understand. Okay, I said this already. So your idea needs you to be a great communicator. I'm skipping over this part. By the way, I don't read my slides. I figure you guys can read. I figure you can read pretty fast. We're going to skip this one. Ready? Boom. Okay. Everyone thinks that they have to be like him. I go into so many meetings where people feel like if I'm not like Steve Jobs, then I can't really be a great communicator. This is completely not true. And this is my great belief, is that each one of you has skills and capabilities yourself. You really care about what you decided to build and what you're making. So that's what makes you a great communicator, is that you have a unique idea, you're invested in your business and your product, and you care about it. So what you want to be is the best version of yourself. You never want to try and be somebody else. If you are trying to act like someone else, people's spidey senses can feel it and they think you're creepy. Which is, and we'll get to this later in the deck, but like this whole you should do like this, and you should gesture like this, and you should make eye contact with someone in the 3rd row and the 8th row. Then you just look like a bleeping robot. So we don't do that either. So I'm all in favor of figure out who you are and figure out what you care about and project and present that. And by the way, all of these 6 things apply for media, they apply for internal communications, they apply for a giant keynote, and I'll talk about that at the end, but anyway. Okay, so here we go. These are our 6 things that we're going to talk about. I am obsessed with messaging. That is really my background. Coming from a public relations background, if you don't have a great message, nobody cares. If you can't coherently and provocatively communicate what it is that you have to sell, you will never reach anybody. So the message is table stakes. You have to have a strong message, and we'll talk about that a little bit. The next thing is please just don't be a narcissist douche. So remember, the whole point is not, oh, look at me, I'm up here with a microphone, yay. The point is to give a gift to the people that you're presenting to. So if you have something useful to say to other people, then you are a compelling communicator. This is especially true, and this is not a presentation about media, but this is totally true if you're doing broadcast television, because when you're doing a print interview, then people are just reading the words you said, but on TV they actually see you. And if they decide unconsciously in about 3 seconds, if they believe that you have something useful to offer to them. So like, is this person for real? Is this person really trying to help me? Or is this person just in it for themselves? And that's the decision they make to decide whether you're likable and whether they're going to pay attention. So it's really important to remember that anything you're communicating is about the other people, it's not about you. And then finally, I have a ton of stuff to say about how to work with and use your body when you're giving a presentation, what to do and what not to do. So that's what we're going to get into. Is anybody bored yet? Are we okay so far? Okay, all right, we're diving in. All right, oh, no. No. Okay, listen, getting people's attention, this cat picture gets your attention, right? But does that do anything for your business? So getting people's attention is just the beginning. And getting people to think about your idea is great too. So if you can get people to think about it, then that's necessary, but it's not sufficient. So if you've got someone's attention for 3 seconds, and then they go, oh, and they think about it, well, if it stays inside of their head, that doesn't do anything for your product or your business either. So then, how do you get them to talk about it? If your idea is so interesting enough that they actually want to talk to people about it, then that's valuable. So if it's something new enough and unusual enough, it's a new business model, it's a new approach, and they're like, ooh, I gotta get on this. Then you're really in good shape if your message is provocative enough that it gets people to act. So these are your hurdles. Getting attention is easy, not particularly useful. Getting the people to think about it is good, but that's table stakes and it's not going to differentiate you. If people are talking about what you're doing and they're acting on it, that's when you know that you have a provocative and strong message. Any comments or questions on that as we're going through this? Not yet? Yeah.
So one thing it seems to me when I'm doing marketing is there's a thing about you having something it's not a complete thought, like they have to like, it's sort of mysterious, so they have to think about what are you getting at, like is that what you, so is that part of the thought? That's not what I mean. That's not what I mean, and that's a legitimate tactic to use to have something that's a little bit mysterious and sneaky, a reveal. No, I'm talking about just the quality of your overall content. Okay. So if your business is something that people actually need badly enough, or they want to be involved enough that they'll do something about it, that's a strong message. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so I really believe, for a variety of reasons, that the message is absolutely the most important thing. So many of you have probably heard, and I'm going to look at my notes here, there's this study about how 93% of successful communication is nonverbal. Has anyone heard of that study? Yeah. Bullshit. Not really actually true. So if you look at the research, that's been debunked a bunch. Having said that, if you are really comfortable with what you're saying, and you really believe it, and you love it, none of which would happen if the message weren't good. So all of those things reside on you having a good message. So if you really believe it, you love it, you think it's something useful to have that you have to offer to other people, then all of that shines through and it helps you balance your nonverbals. So great speakers deliver great messages that they believe in. Okay. So I have a friend who lives in Berkeley who wrote a book called Retellable, which all of you should buy because it's totally cool. So stories are drugs. Did anybody know that? Anybody familiar with how this works? I apologize for all the word slides because I'm the worst PowerPoint maker in human history. Okay, when you hear the beginning of a story, you actually get a little dopamine infusion because you're like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. So telling stories is a great thing to do in a presentation. Like, oh, I
I wonder what's going to happen. And by the way, these story patterns have been around for 10,000 years since humans have been talking to each other. Brains love patterns. So brains are very satisfied by going through and resolving patterns. So you hear the beginning, you're like, ooh. Then when there's the cliffhanger, the cortisol is like, what's going to happen next? And then when you hear the happy ending, you get this burst of oxytocin. So everyone listening to you is going to have this lovely hormonal response to a story you tell, whether they're aware of it or not, and they'll think you gave a better talk, even though it's not their prefrontal cortexes that are making that decision. So why not take advantage of the neurochemistry and tell stories? Here, you know what? Oh, okay. You know what? I'm just going to go through. I don't like builds. I get bored with builds. So, okay. There are two really good story structures that you can use. And this first one, this is a classic Grimm's fairy tale story structure. If you look at almost every fairy tale, it follows this. By the way, I've worked in B2B technology almost my whole career. Every single freaking B2B case study follows the same model. It's pretty hilarious. So it's like, really? So it's like, the guys at Credit Suisse were trying to merge with Payne Weber, and they had this terrible problem that they couldn't integrate their two database systems. So that's the problem. Then there were all these European regulators in banking that were really scared about the privacy rules in the United States, and so there was all this negotiating that had to happen, and so there was all this drama, and the American bankers thought the American regulators and the European bankers were evil and vice versa, so there's your good and evil. Then, what's the magical element? What?
A solution.
Right? Somebody's brilliant, right? Somebody's brilliant products. Like, oh my goodness, here comes HP, IBM, Oracle, whoever. Like, you can throw anyone in there. They ride to the rescue with this wonderful solution that integrates all the requirements for privacy that the Europeans want, and everything the Americans want, and creates this beautiful solution. And then the happy ending is that the integration happened 7 months ahead of schedule and cost $7 million less than it was supposed to cost. Yay! And then the moral or lesson is you should always turn first to IBM, HP, Oracle, or whoever. But does this sound familiar? Like, right? So this is your basic case study story format. And if you spike up the drama of the problem and you spike up the drama of the magical element, then you've got something really interesting there, like for you. So, oh my goodness, Chloe lost her phone 6 times on her trip to Europe, and this was ridiculous, and she almost didn't get the job offer that she wanted. She was hoping to get back her because she didn't respond. They thought that she didn't want the job. And then she didn't know what she was going to do. It was a nightmare. She was trying to get a new phone in Prague. It was a disaster, but then she found out about the locket. She got one as soon as she got home. She's never missed a call again, and she's doing such a great job in her new job because she's so responsive. She's been promoted. Yay! See?
I borrow that.
Yeah, you can. So, stories are that. So, and the other famous story formula that everybody knows. This is the Pixar one, and it's a little bit different. This one is really good for origin stories. So this one is good for, here's why I had this idea, or here's how I come to be doing this now instead of blah. And one of the things that makes these kinds of stories work really well is grounding them in detail. And people respond subconsciously when they hear detail. So I have one in my life, which is I was a PR person and going along, and I launched Java, yay. I go off and work at some startups, yay, that's great. Then I don't know what to do next, so I take this big job at Burson Marsteller, and I'm running our global relationship with Hewlett Packard in 75 countries. And after 9 years of that, so I finally leave doing that, and this is what happens. So this is where it gets grounded in detail. So every day I would go to work, I'd have my conference calls, I would fly around the world looking after my global team, everything's good. Then one day, the new CEO comes in. And because of that, she brings in a new CMO. And because of that, he does this massive agency review. So it was this huge 4-month process that we had to go through. Our account was the biggest global accounting agency. There were more people working on my piece of business around the firm than any other accountant in the world, and more than 200 people might have lost their jobs if we messed up this account review. So that was a lot of pressure for us. So finally, we do the pitch, and it was supposed to be 4 hours, it was 6. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I get back to the hotel and I literally just fall down on the floor and start crying. I'm like, I can't do this for one more day. I can't take it anymore. I'm in the Gramercy Park Hotel. They have these crazy green velvet curtains, and I'm like sitting in this ridiculous Baroque Italianate hotel room thinking like, I don't know how I can do this job for one more minute. Next day I fly home, and the client calls and they want to keep all the agencies, so we kept the business, but they wanted every agency to put a new head person on. So I got out. I escaped. And that was the most amazing thing. It never occurred to me that that was going to be the way that I was going to get out without hurting anybody. And I had a flight to India the next day, and we took off, and I just felt like I felt the whole thing just like leaving my body. I felt like a whole new person. And when I came back, I asked to be laid off. It took about 9 months for that to happen, but I asked to be laid off, and then I went to coaching school, and now I'm doing this. It's so much better. So see, that's my story. Now, isn't that slightly more interesting than, because it's personal, and it's grounded in like what was actually going on and what was happening in the room and like how I felt when I got on the plane. So when you're telling a story like this, it's good to have the details that get like right down to the physical sensations, and that's how people get sucked in. Anyway, so this is a great story structure for like, why did you decide to found the companies you founded? Why are you in this business? Okay, this one is really important, which is your audiences want and need something that will make their lives better or their businesses better. And if you don't have something that will make their lives and businesses better, you should not be talking. So that's really important. When you have heard great presentations that you remember, and this is not a rhetorical question, when you've heard a great presentation, what is it that made it great? Anybody got an answer? Passion. Right, somebody who really, really cares about what they have to offer. Anything else? Like when you learn something, you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to change my life. Has that happened to anyone in a presentation? Tell us.
Well, I guess the TED Talks generally, like the Jill Taylor TED Talk. Yeah. Where that was just sort of about the different perspective you could have.
Right, and something like that, you're like, ooh, that's useful. So that draws your attention, you think about it, you talk about it, and you're like, I'm actually going to integrate this, I'm going to act on it. So that was something that you really enjoyed. So the question is, what sort of a gift does your audience want? And this next thing, oh, that's weird that it has the blue parts. Okay, this thing is a PR strategy that is useful for anything that you're going to be doing. I had a client do this. He had just been promoted. He was a SVP of engineering, and he got promoted to being a general manager of a business unit at his company, and he now reported to the CEO. He's like, oh, so it was, okay, I want you to write down every single person who reports to the CEO when you're sitting in those meetings with them. In the first column, who are your audiences? So it can be your employees, and you can fine grain it. You know, your sales staff wants different stuff than your engineering team does. Your business partners, your board of directors, your bankers, the media, like any audience that you want to reach, you can cut it as finely as you want to. You put that in the who column. Then the next column is, what do they think now? And this is best if you do not make it up. So see what data and evidence that you can gather that tells you what it is that that person, because with my client, I made him do this for every single human being that reported to the CEO. So his had like 14 people on it, and his big aha was, oh my gosh, they each want different things. Like, yes. So what do they think now? And then the next column is, what do you want them to think? So you can see for each audience that you're looking at the delta between where they are in their perception, which you're grounding in fact, and where you want to get them. And that is the basis for you in understanding and empathizing with an audience for a keynote speech, in preparing for a media tour, and getting ready for an all-hands meeting. So I worked with a guy who, again, I get a lot of engineers promoted to CEOs because that's a harder leap, coming from sales and biz dev to CEO. And I had him do this for each group of people that he was talking to in the all-hands meeting. So what does the 25-year-old person who just joined the company in customer support want versus what does the guy who's running the engineering team want? So it also helps you pinpoint where you want to put your message emphasis and what kind of stories you want to tell, what kind of data you want to deliver. So this is a really useful exercise to go through as you're thinking about your content strategy for wherever you're going to be presenting anything. Okay, this was one of my favorite clients. She founded the first all-female Ferrari rally in the United States, which is pretty cool. So the kind of media that you have coming to a Ferrari rally is a lot different than the kind of media that she would have coming to her. She was a biotech founder. So totally different context, totally different audience. So she had done a lot of print media, but she hadn't done broadcast, so she hired me to do a media training with her, and we focused on the simplest possible message, because this is going to be like on lifestyle television. So she's used to getting like super intense talking to the biotech trades, and we're going totally in the other direction here. So understanding the context of where you are. So who are you speaking to, and what are their concerns, and what's their vocabulary? There's this whole school of thought called speech acts philosophy, and there are about 15 different guys. Fernando Flores and Maturana have written a lot about this. They're whole books about it. They're very dense. But one of the things that's important in speech acts theory is a shared background of obviousness. So I was giving a talk at Dropbox a couple of weeks ago for a bunch of young engineers. And I said, okay, if you ask for Ruby skills at the San Francisco Jewelry Mart or at GitHub, you're going to get totally different things, right? So that's the context and the obviousness, is understanding who you're talking to. What, like if I said to you guys something about A16Z, you'd probably know what I was talking about. You'd know who that was. If I talked to my mother about that, she'll have no idea what I'm talking about. So where the acronyms are and where that context is really important. If you're doing media, you really distill your message down if you're doing broadcast, and you can get denser if you're doing certain kinds of print media. Okay, so that's really important. Now, the third thing, this is where I got a lot to say, getting ready. So, okay, so we've talked about message. You have to have a really interesting, provocative message. You have to tell stories. Then we've talked about your mindset, which is about the audience. So you're doing something for them, not for yourself, and you know the context, and you know what matters to them, and you know what's obvious, so that your message drops into an environment that's fertile ground. The last stuff, all of the stuff about your body, the reason, well, here's the thing. The reason that people focus so much on gestures and tone of voice and stuff in presentation giving, there are two reasons. One, because if you appear comfortable and engaged in your content, you're more relatable. The second reason is that your body is communicating to the other bodies what you feel if you're nervous. So it's really important for you to do things like make eye contact, to do things like use gestures, to pause and to breathe, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about in a second, but really, 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 really do not choreograph a routine for yourself. You will look like a crazy person. I've seen people do it. And if you have a chance to get trained and look at yourself on camera, that's really helpful. You're like, oh, I didn't know that I do that. I used to work with a CEO who would literally pull on his eyebrow. I'm like, you can't bleeping do that on television. You can't sit there and play with your eyebrow. You can do it if you're on the phone, on a print interview, I don't care what you do, but if you're on TV, you have to sit on your hands, whatever you need to do. Okay, another thing, the whole and you know thing that people get into, this happens mainly because you think you have to keep talking and your voice is getting ahead of your brain. So the best thing you can do to learn not to do that is to slow down and breathe. And by the way, what you think is an eternity is usually like 2.5 seconds. Literally, okay, I'm gonna slow down. Is David going, oh my gosh, what's wrong with her? Will I do that? I don't think so, right? So that grounds you and gives you a chance. So you don't need to fill every millisecond with the sound of your voice. It's actually better if you pause. This is a strange example. I have a friend who is a professional belly dancer. So she was taking a master class from this famous belly dancer who came out and said to all these women, half! And they're like, what? And they're all staying there and she goes, half! And she doesn't explain. They're all like, well, what does that mean? And this woman said, you should do half of what you think that you should do on stage. Because if you're constantly moving and constantly in a frenzy, people's eyes get tired, you're going to get tired, you're not creating any high points and low points in your performance if you just keep going at a frenzy the whole time. So pauses help people understand what's important and when to pay attention. Okay, more stuff on preparing. And we'll do some little exercise in a minute. Okay, first, it is your body that's getting up there. So if you are speaking, let's say you're speaking on a stage and doing a big event, ask to rehearse so that you can see what the lights look like in your eyes. And so if they put the microphone in your ears, you can see what it feels like and you know where the screens are that have the notes for your presentation. Get your body in the environment that it's going to be in before you present so that you don't go out there on the stage and you're like, whoa, and all flustered when you first get out there. If the first time that you approach an environment is in front of other people, you are going to be bemused and it's going to be awkward. So part of the reason to practice is just so your body knows where it is. So that's thing one. Thing two, do not drink 12 cups of coffee before you go on stage. Obviously, for two reasons. You can guess what they both are, but don't do that. Exercise the morning of if you get nervous. That helps, and we'll talk more about nerves in a minute. Make sure you've eaten something. I was listening to, I think it was Krista Tippett on the Tim Ferriss podcast of all things, and they were talking about Bill Clinton's negotiating tactic, which is whenever anyone would come into the Oval Office for a big scary negotiation, he would ask them if they needed any food or anything to drink. Because he didn't want people to be hungry or thirsty or uncomfortable when they were entering into a negotiation. So when you were going on stage, or doing a media interview, or a board meeting, or a pitch to get funding, make sure your body's happy and comfortable before you go in there. Don't wear something brand new that you've never worn before. Just make sure you're in a good space. And then we'll do a couple practice things. If you are stuttering and you can't make eye contact, your message is going to speak louder. That is going to speak louder than your words. So working on getting your body comfortable with being in this environment is really important. Okay, I'm going to skip over this part. So this last big part is that it's really important not to be nervous. But we'll get to the nervous thing in a second. Before we get there, okay, here's why gesturing and tone of voice matter. So how many of you have been in some big trade show and sat in some big keynote hall and watched a keynote in your lives? Right? Okay. How many of you paid rapt attention to the entire thing? Nobody, right? Like, oh, okay. We've all been in these environments many times before. So it's really great to throw your audience a bone and let them know what the most important part of your presentation is. And the way you do that is by creating a crescendo. So like, wow, this is the most important part of my presentation. You can skip over on the other parts, pause, but this is the most important part of my presentation. So you create this, you strategize this in advance. You have your narrative arc that you've thought through, and you've picked, okay, I've got 12 minutes, and at minute number 8, that's my big thing. And your tone of voice changes, your gestures change, you pause. So you choreograph the way you use your voice and your body and your breathing and your content. If you have fancy music, if you have a fancy demo, you choreograph all of that stuff, and that's how you show people what your crescendo is. And the reason that you're doing it is because you're just trying to help all these humans who are sitting there in the keynote hall, who have probably, you know, if you're at a trade show or a giant event, help them. Help them know what's the 3 minutes of your 20-minute presentation they should pay attention to. So that's why that stuff matters. Okay, but Amy Cuddy time. Who knows who Amy Cuddy is? Anybody? Kind of, maybe, yeah, no? Okay. I think she's at Yale, but I could be making that up. She has this amazing TED Talk, and it's spelled C-U-D-D-Y. Everyone needs to go watch this TED Talk. It's totally awesome. Her TED Talk is about the way you use your body to change how your body's feeling. So saying to yourself, calm down, calm down, calm down, calm down, calm down, calm down, actually does not work. But there are specific poses you can put your body in, and if you do those for 2 minutes, and they did cheek swabs of people before they did the poses and after they did the poses, and their hormone composition changed. Matt, please come up here and demo with me. Okay. So there is the very basic 20-second centering practice, which you can secretly do on stage and no one will know. And that's where you ground your skeletons, you put your feet flat, and you stand up, you're like, okay, here are my shoulders, here's my, I can feel my spine. You're like, and you breathe like up the front of your body and down the back of your body. And you can do that on stage and no one will know you're doing it. And you can do it before you go on stage. Now, another one. Ready? This one? Okay. 2 minutes in the bathroom or in the green room before you go. Ready? This works. Don't you feel better?
I do feel better.
Don't you feel strong and powerful?
I do.
Right? Okay. So this actually works if you can do this for two minutes. Now, what's the third one? That's the supercharged one. You do it. Woo!
Let's go!
So this one, like Usain Bolt winning the gold medal, all humans do this when something super triumphant happens. So you do it when you feel triumph. In the same way that if you feel bad, smiling makes you feel better. Doing this makes you feel triumphant even if you don't. You may go back to your seat. Thank you very much for participating in the demo. So use your body to calm your body down. Don't use your head. Watch her TED Talk. It's really interesting. And there's a book called, if you really want to get into this, there's a book called Leadership Embodiment, written by, you know that book? Wendy Palmer. Huh? Yeah, Wendy Palmer and Janet Crawford. So Leadership Embodiment, Wendy Palmer is an Aikido instructor who does this whole thing about how you stand and sit and how you function in the workplace and your energy. A lot of it is very woo-woo, but it's also really powerful. So if you sit and you're like slumped over like this, and you ask yourself, can I do what I need to do today? You're like, ugh. But if you sit like this, like, ooh, yes, I can do it. And then Janet Crawford has a whole section of the book that's basically about human biology for the last 10,000 years and why these things work. So that's a great additional resource. So grounding yourself in your skeleton, if you only have a minute. And when you have a graceful, grounded presence and you're like, okay, I'm good, I'm comfortable in my body, then all of that stuff fades away and you're a pleasure to hear. If you are uncomfortable and feel antsy, then it's harder to pay attention to it. There is no such thing as over-rehearsing. I don't care what anybody says. It does not make you appear more robotic if you over-rehearse. People who come up on stage and don't know what they're going to say go like this. And people who go into media interviews and don't know the answer to the question, especially on live television, that's a humiliation. So a lot of people really underestimate how much preparation time needs to go into giving a good talk or doing a good media interview. So first of all, understand the physical space you're going to be in. What's the technology going to be? Am I going to be doing this? Am I going to have the microphone? Am I going to, like, you want to know all of that stuff. If you're going to be doing media interviews, where are you going to be? Are they going to be on the phone? Are they going to be in person at the newsroom? Are you going to be like on CNBC on the squawk box with all the stuff going on around you? I've actually done media trainings with executives where we put them in the broadcast studio and then just have people walk by banging the furniture and smashing papers, because television studios are so noisy and it's really disorienting the first time you go on, because you're sitting there talking and there's all this stuff going on around you. So it's chaos. You have to learn how to be comfortable in that environment. So, do you have a plan B? Who has ever been in any keynote where a demo failed? All humans, right? Like it happens. So, what's your plan B as a speaker if the demo isn't working? What's your plan B as a speaker if the slides aren't working? What's your plan B if the music doesn't work? What's your plan B if the reporter's 30 minutes late and you have to smash your 30 minutes into 10? So you need to be prepared for all these things that might happen. And it's really great for you to use memorizing devices to get to know the different parts of your presentation or your messages for your media interview. I tell people to rehearse in the car or practice your sound bites while you're putting on your makeup or shaving or in the shower. You can present to your dog. Dogs really like that. They'll just like pay attention. So, you know, you're like, oh, like if you gesture to your dog and pay attention and make eye contact with your dog will be like, I wonder, where is the food? So, another thing that I suggest to people to do is record your presentation on the phone and then just listen to yourself and talk along with yourself. That's a good way to memorize it if you're in the car or if you're on the train. So that's another great thing to do, is just to keep yourself, you can't over-know your content. And again, we're not rehearsing, we're not choreographing, I'm going to step this way when this happens. Oh, we're not doing that. But if you know your content, then you'll do really well. Even just, one of my clients is like, well, sometimes I see the slide and I can't remember what I'm supposed to say. I'm like, well, do you use the slide down? He goes like, no, because then, you know, when you change the slides, you have to move the content, and it's too hard. And I'm like, okay, so you're telling me you just don't want to do the work. He's like, oh. So you have to be willing to do the backbreaking labor of cutting and pasting and moving the content from one slide to another when you change the slides, or having your underling do it for you. You have to be willing to scribble down the agenda before you go into the senior staff meeting. 5 minutes. Take 5 minutes to decide what you're going to talk about before you go into a meeting. If you are doing media interviews on the phone, have your cheat sheet in front of you. Like, you can do that. Have your data points and your sound bites and your stories right there so that you can just look down. So anything and everything that you can do to prepare, do it. Okay, nervousness. So I had a conversation with someone last week who's now having, it's sort of escalating, she's having these crazy panic attacks. So hypnotherapy is good, and there's also this thing called TIPI, T-I-P-I, which is kind of like EMDR a little bit. It's a reprogramming thing for your brain that works really well. Mainly though, most people, if you really know your message and you love your message and you really know who your audience is, that's going to give you the confidence. And then you're going to go in the green room for 2 minutes before and you're going to go like this. And then you're going to go out on stage and you're going to be fine. Same thing with doing an interview, a media interview, broadcast or print. Same thing, you just need to know your content. So if you anchor yourself in doing that work. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with memorizing your content, because then you just always know it. It's not like it's a waste of time and energy to do that. Okay, what's next? Oh, here's what not to do. Okay, so this is what to do. And usually with most of my clients, I spend very little time on what not to do. I'd rather coach them into being more confident by focusing on what they're doing well. But here are a few what not to do. Some of them come from this great Chris Anderson article. Chris Anderson, who used to run TED, in the Harvard Business Review. So these are hilarious. Please do not be pompous. This gets back to what I was saying at the top of the presentation about being a jerk, although I was using more colorful language. So this is not an opportunity for you to broadcast stuff that is on your company's website. Oh, you should know this about me, and this other thing about me, and then there's this other great thing about me. That's not useful. If you're doing a television interview, they've already got all that, and they might be putting it up on the screen next to you, the background and the context. So your job is to be John Madden and provide the color commentary and the context to tell the story and the soundbite. Your job is not to provide all those background facts. We've talked about this before. Even if you've memorized your talk, you are still presenting it like a human, because you are a human. You're making eye contact, and you're not doing that weird rub-up thing like this, which is just so weird, so you're not doing that. And you are not being confusing. Now, this deck that I have here is on the verge of having too many words. So I am a big fan of almost no words and talking. And you definitely don't want lots of bullets and sub-bullets, because no one will be able to follow it, and you'll just make people mad, and then they'll stop paying attention to you. We talked about the unexplained jargon before. Definitely, definitely, definitely don't wing it. Winging it is bad. Okay, so we're at the end of our prepared remarks. We made it. These things apply to a scary one-on-one conversation. Let's say you're having to have a conversation with your head of sales about how you're going to fire him. You would do the same thing. You're doing a keynote speech. You're running your all-hands meeting. You're doing a media tour. You are having your meeting with your senior staff. You can apply these 6 principles to any of these things. And sometimes a one-on-one conversation gets the adrenaline going and is way harder than doing a speech, especially if there's a conflict, if it's something really icky. And I have stuff on my website about what to do in those icky, sticky situations when you have to deal with somebody you don't want to talk to. But there's a lot of power in just remembering your message and your mindset and your body, no matter what you're saying to whom. And I think, oh look, it's the end. Yes, and there's me.